How does faith play a role in promoting water, sanitation, and hygiene practices in communities?
Thank you so much, LB, and thank you for having me. So, when we think of our faith, we understand our faith as an enabler for us to be and to do. And when we think of WASH, we understand that within the spectrum of WASH, there are unique challenges that are embedded in our beliefs, that are embedded in our cultural practices. And our faith is potent to address such beliefs and address such cultural practices to enable WASH outcomes. I mean, we could have an example of how in our African communities, particularly our context as Lesotho, many people still practice open defecation
Yeah.
as a result of their beliefs and as a result of their cultural practices, and that undermines WASH outcomes.
Yeah.
And for us, our faith now becomes a tool and an instrument to address such beliefs and juxtapose that with the belief that well-being as God desires for us is such that we live in a healthy and clean environment where we do not practice open defecation but access sanitation facilities, and also in a hygienic environment. It's the will of God for us to live in a hygienic environment. So these are some of the ways in which our faith inspires us to really participate in WASH efforts and initiatives.
That's amazing. I'm reminded of a saying, re buang hangata ka le Basotho mo re reng, cleanliness is next to godliness.
Absolutely.
You know, every single time when we were young, o tla fumana motswadi ka tlung a re cleana ka more ya hao, cleana ka more ya hao, otherwise modimo ha no re ete.
Yeah. In actual fact, motswadi a ba eketsa ba re o tlaetsa go modimo a ska utlwa. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's because we have always had that belief, essentially, that when we live in a clean environment, we are somehow practicing what God wants and desires of us. I mean, God is a holy God, and holiness is always interpreted to have connotations of cleanliness.
Definitely.
That's where the relationship is formed. And as a Christian organization, we are always excited to have conversations like this because it's our way of speaking out to say that our faith is not just for us to be and believe, but it inspires us to action well-being around WASH issues.
No, this is really amazing. And God is a God of excellence. And I know that looking at it from a faith perspective, we might wonder, how does faith come in? But as you've summed it up, truly more than just water or infrastructure, what we are bringing is the essence of who God is in the lives of people so that they can experience the love of God and know that all of this is a reflection of who God is. So truly amazing, Pastor Aim. But how then can faith leaders, looking at the different context of our country, we have, call it many religions. We have Christianity, and I know that the Muslim community is growing, but at the end of the day, as a Christian organization, we truly believe that we welcome everyone, irrespective of what religion you are. So looking at that perspective, how can faith leaders help shift mindsets then and cultural practices towards better hygiene and sanitation habits within the communities that we live?
I mean, you're absolutely right. As a Christian organization, we do recognize the authority, the importance, and the presence of faith leaders across different religions. And even within the Christian faith itself, we have different denominations.
Yeah.
And we believe that, Basotho, in our context, will be better reached by faith leaders in their different facets and different beliefs.
Yeah.
And what we would like to rally behind is the essence of the authority and trust that our nation have on faith leaders. And as a way of engaging faith leaders, we always would like to ensure that we capacitate them. We have open conversations and create platforms where there can be cross exchange and learning.
Yeah.
Because in some instances, it is us as faith leaders who sort of perpetuate particular practices. And as World Vision, would always like to create platforms where we can learn together and perhaps unlearn certain things.
Yeah.
And it is in that learning where we are able to identify key actions, key messaging that is helpful for a typical Mosotho ya phelang ha e se mafuteng kapo mokgotlong kapo mohalesuk. And it is such messaging, it is such actions that will now begin to inspire faith leaders to even integrate such teachings in their sermons on Sundays. In areas where we have worked with the church on issues of wash using faith approaches, we have seen faith leaders integrate some of these teachings in their Sunday sermons.
That's amazing.
And it's an area that we celebrate, something that we highly celebrate. And a note of celebration as well is how over 600 faith leaders are participating in this conversation and teaching their congregants around hygiene, around the importance of sanitation, and access to clean water. So we celebrate this milestone.
Yeah. Oh wow. There's a when you're talking about this, I normally tell my son that if there's 3 powerful people in this world, it's faith leaders, it's doctors, and teachers.
Absolutely.
As a mom, I even come last.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is so important, because there's so many instances where I've spoken to my son at home and asked him to do something. Then he'll tell me that the pastor in the kids' church said. But my pastor said, therefore, that's the word.
Absolutely.
And it really showcases how powerful their word is.
Extremely powerful. And I'll tell you why. Because of that trust and authority that is vested in faith leaders, they're able to appeal to the core of your being, the essence of your beliefs. And when we reach a human being there, it is done.
Amen.
That's why our work as World Vision, working with the church and faith leaders, is so key. Because the moment we begin to reach people at the fundamental core of how they believe, how they think, how they feel, then you know that the initiatives and interventions that we're implementing in that particular area, they will be sustained. That's where behavior change begins to come. People who are practicing, littering, when you begin to reach them at the core of their beliefs, behavior change begins to be seen, and people preserve their environment.
And at the end of the day, then what it means is that hygiene and sanitation is no longer what we do, but it's who we are.
Absolutely.
That's amazing. That's really amazing. I'm just thinking about it, living in a world where we don't even think twice about whether people in the communities or far hard to reach places deserve this. It is a human right, which brings dignity and hope. And if it becomes part of our innate being, what a beautiful world this can be, Pastor M. But what are some of the success stories perhaps that you can share with our audiences on where faith institutions have played a role in wash sustainability? I know you made an example of some of the faith leaders, putting hygiene and sanitation as part of their sermons. But can you just say a success story that maybe can showcase the real work on the ground where faith really plays a role?
I mean, that's such a brilliant question. I love it. I love it because it's an opportunity to really spotlight the work that our faith leaders are doing in the communities. I recall of great work around local advocacy and policy change that's happening in Mohau, the Sintu area program where we work around the Masaling communities there and Hasenkwasi, where faith leaders post the training of Jesus, source of living water, an approach that we use within WASH. They engage with local leadership there, your councillors and your area chief, and they came up with a policy to safeguard their environment.
They came up with the policy
and decided that in consultation with the leadership and in consultation with the public, to say that as of this particular day, we are doing away with littering.
Come
and,
on.
They decided that, look, we are going to ensure that we enforce this policy, teach our communities, teach our congregants, and now we will also enforce it by ensuring that there is a cost attached to littering. And the reason they're doing this, LB, is because they are interested in ensuring that as the kids play down the streams of water there, that the water is clean. Because they had incidents where children would get sick, because children are children. Sometimes they will go drink water swimming it, and one of the kids got sick. And they decided that as faith leaders, it is our responsibility to safeguard the well-being of this child. We got to that our community, and it was so clean, greenery like it is here. And then you get there, you would feel the beauty of being in a clean environment. And then we were asking, what's happening here?
Yeah.
Did the national government come and do something? Like, no,
We did it
our leaders, our faith leaders did this. And we celebrate that so much. I mean, in the Maduming area program where we were working, we saw faith leaders that begin to mobilize funds and resources to now build sanitary facilities, toilets for their vulnerable community members. I mean, they did not wait for World Vision, they did not wait for any other organization or the government, but they themselves began to contribute, your 20 maluti, 30 maluti, and they bought material and began to build toilets for some of the vulnerable communities members there.
Tell me quickly, if this is happening, in Mohau, that's far.
Yeah.
How can we put this together and document it to make it maybe a copy paste? Because we are talking renewal of our minds, and transformation of our cultural practices. How can we get that beautiful story where faith leaders took action and see how we cascade it down to the rest of our communities?
We're really excited about that, and it's one of the areas where we are currently intentionally working to say that what we'd love is for faith leaders themselves to tell these stories.
Yes.
And one of the exciting things that are currently happening is how even through your support as comms colleagues, where we are beginning to inspire them to say, look, maybe even the smartphone that you use for WhatsApp is sufficient.
Yeah.
Just to showcase and tell us a story of what's going on in that particular community. And it doesn't have to be something that shakes the entire world, because I know that you and I would be excited, and I hope that somebody who's watching and listening would be excited to hear of this local policy changes that are happening in Mohau. And our way of telling the stories is, one, let the faith leaders just participate and just amplifying their voices. Take a video, take a photo, and let's engage even on social media platforms. We would be able to advance and add more voice to the story. But most importantly, it's through collaboration with yourselves. Collaboration with yourselves, with more expertise and more resources, just to ensure that we capture these stories, capture these voices, and hear it from the source itself. And we are looking forward to more stories coming up, so that we can amplify and share through that.
But just a quick one, with us being at a workshop where we are looking at a strategy for the next 5 years with specific focus on WASH, will there be any of the partners coming to the workshop in terms of faith leaders? Will they be here to participate so that they cannot be left behind? Because after this conversation, I realized that it's not just about engaging when we are done. We should be planning, working together with them. Are we going to have any, maybe we can interview them, also hear their voices, because I think it would be great, not for us to just talk about it, but hear from them themselves on what their plan is looking at faith and WASH.
We are looking forward to that.
They're coming.
We're looking forward to that. They will be here.
That's great.
Our partner, Christian Council of Lesotho, we're looking forward to their presence, because as a Christian organization, we really we love to put our faith to action. Our faith, it's not just for us to feel, but it inspires us for us to do. And one of the things that we have discussed thoroughly with our WASH colleagues is to say, look, we would love for our faith to be foundation to everything that we do. And even at this plenary period, we definitely would love to have voices of our faith stakeholders and faith partners. So we're looking forward to that.
Yay.
One word.
Come on.
Impactful.
Impactful.
Yeah.
Why?
Because in the past 5 years, we saw a greater coverage of access to water and a greater coverage of sanitation facilities, particularly in schools. And as you drive across our nation and even in the hardest to reach places, and begin to see how our WASH team has built WASH facilities, and there are toilets at schools, there are toilets at communities, there is water at school, and there is water systems even in the communities. It means that 14-year-old girl no longer needs to travel 3-4 kilometers to draw water.
Come on.
That's huge impact. I'm excited
I
about
love it. I love it. Reminds me this morning when we were talking about the woman with the issue of blood,
Yes.
and you asked the question about what do we think was the experience
Yeah.
of that woman.
Yeah.
And I think impactful also comes out of there, because that touch of the hem of Jesus' garments and the immediate healing that came with that,
Yeah.
well, that was impact.
My most memorable and most significant achievement would definitely be the local policy in the Sinku area program. I was there. I experienced it firsthand. It was a moment of joy and pride. Being in an environment where faith leaders are driving mindset and behavior change, and actually seeing the something so tangible. It was just pure moment of bliss.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is because our background as faith and development practitioners has always been that we can only end at behavior change.
Yeah.
Just teaching people in the faith communities, but we are actually saying our faith now transcend beyond behavior change and awareness,
Yeah.
but now seeing more concrete and real action that contributes even at a high level to national priorities. And being in that environment, seeing it, touching it, there's nothing that beats it.
It's really amazing how, as an advocacy organization, we've transcended beyond just storytelling.
Yeah.
But we've gone as far as showcasing how our faith can also change and transform policies. And it's not just what we aspire to do. We have evidence
Absolutely.
of policy changes that are happening at government level, at national, like you're saying.
Yeah.
And Pastor Emma, I think this is a conversation that we should have more and more,
Yeah.
just so that people can be able to fully understand the role of faith
Absolutely.
in transforming the world holistically.
Absolutely.
And I know we are talking water and sanitation, but our programming is integrated.
Yeah.
And I was just tempted for a while to get into ESCA to let's touch on this. But I'm excited really to see how faith and development, those two words, faith, it should be faith in development.
Actually, that's innovative.
It's going to take course, and I'm
Yeah.
just happy for our audiences to be able to witness this. So
Yeah.
it's specific to wash interventions. You spoke about Jesus,
Source of living
Jesus,
water.
source of living water, and I
Yeah.
think maybe people don't know what that is. And I would love for us, as a continuation of this wash journey, for us to tap more,
Yeah.
so that we understand how all of these models are helping to to nurture and to change these mindsets that we are talking about, and make everything more implementable. If we
Our greatest challenges right now as a nation, for me, center around issues of mindset change.
Yeah.
And when you look at the amount of investment that the government and non-governmental organizations have made, donors have made into development and well-being of the people, it's significant.
Yeah.
And it has unfortunately been met with resistant mindset, strongholds of beliefs and ways of thinking that are not open to change, and subsequently we have seen people stagnate for a long time. It is subtle, but it's so huge.
Yeah.
The thing about it is so subtle that you don't even see it.
Yeah.
And to this day, as I engage with stakeholders across in the development space, it is many have funding, they have their approaches and activities, but they're not able to really get deep to address mindset change.
Yeah.
That's why even in the livelihood space, inputs and resources that are given to communities, they are not that sustainable because of mindset. And I think as World Vision, we are fortunate.
Yeah.
We are fortunate to have the capabilities of faith and development. Because when I talk to you know this, when I talk to you colleagues, I always say faith and development for us as World Vision is a competitive edge.
Yeah.
Is that which we have.
What sets us apart?
What sets us apart, right? That the next partner doesn't
Definitely,
have.
that's true.
And the potency of it is such that we are able to work on mindset so effectively that when whether it's Jesus source of living water or another model or approach we call empowered worldview, whether it's empowered worldview, they are so effective to change mindsets. And when we do that, we have seen stronger sustainability possibilities. Our work becomes more sustainable.
Yeah.
There are a number of case studies that we can refer to where when we start with mindset change, sustainability is assured. The biggest challenge, because the resources we have, efforts and activities, initiatives have been undertaken and they shall continue to be undertaken, but those, when they are met with a mindset that is unchanged and addressed, then they are short-circuited. So an opportunity there becomes approaches that we have, like Empowered Worldview, to really begin to address mindset change. And when we do that as a nation, we win, and as an organization, we begin to see more impact.
No, that's inspiring then, because we are seeing what the biggest challenge is, but it's also exciting to know that as World Vision we're already proactively working on that.
Absolutely.
So the problem really is not the infrastructure. It's not, well, there are those problems, of course, when you look at the distances, but what I'm saying is the bigger problem, you could say that it's mindset shift. And if we can tap at the mindset of the people, I mean, they can be custodians of these infrastructures. They will not vandalize it. They will take care of the water to make sure that the taps are not running, because they have a mindset shift of understanding the value that comes with water, because it's a source of life.
It is a source of life.
If there was one thing you could change about WASH efforts in Lesotho right now, what would it be?
If there's one thing I would change about WASH efforts right now, it would have to be what would it be? I think I would change how we are currently implementing some of our WASH initiatives, because we have seen over time that when as an organization and as partners, when we do for communities, it perpetuates dependency. So if there is one thing I would change, is the approach of bringing communities together, community members together, and saying, hey, by re le setjhaba sa Basotho re bona ka re phephetso tsa rona ke tsena le tsena le tsena, re hloka matlwana ka lebaka lena le lena, re hloka metsi ka lebaka le lena le lane, mme let's come up with solutions such that our implementation is highly inclusive. For instance, when it comes to issues of sanitation facilities, instead of doing 4, let's do together. So LB is in Mohau, and we have provided sufficient education around the importance of sanitation, proper sanitation. Instead of us providing a toilet for LB, let's say LB, how is it that we can come together to build you a toilet? And then LB, if she doesn't have financial resources, she has hands.
Come on.
And she has neighbors
Come
that we can leverage. And that way, even if I contributed minimally, but if I contribute, if LB contributes, she has a stronger claim and ownership to this resource. So I think that's an area that we need to review and look into, and I'll change as soon as possible.
Yeah, I think this is the right time, because we are in a workshop that is setting out a strategy for the next 5 years.
Absolutely.
So I'm excited to see within that next 5 years, from 2026 to 2030. After this conversation, we can look back and you can remember that you said this was your aspiration, and it would be really nice to see it come to life. So I'm excited for you to go back inside and post that idea so that we can definitely implement it into the new strategy. I totally love it. I think any person who has done something for themselves, they didn't know that they could, but now you've given them capacity to know. That means even as we phase out, because World Vision does phase out, then they can continue to build toilets because they know they actually can. Love it. Love it.
My commitment would definitely be one, a champion of WASH. I'm committed to the mission of WASH and becoming basically a champion. And just to break it down, what that means, one, to really be an advocate for WASH outcomes, whether it be issues of behavior change, which I'm already involved in. Becoming a champion of WAJ in issues of our processes that go into procuring WAJ infrastructure and resources. Become a champion there. Speak for WAJ, because I totally understand the importance of the program, and I've seen what it does for Chaba Sabasot. And my commitment would be to become their champion. In their absence, WASH is represented.
I think we found ourselves at WASH ambassador. So in the next 5 years, I'll give you that tech. I'll create one specifically for you, the WASH
I'm
ambassador.
gonna hold you on to that.
But that's really amazing. I think that is at the heart of advocacy. Owning something and saying, I'm going to be an advocate for this, I'm going to speak to this, and ensure that everybody else has maybe the same perspective or has a bigger understanding of WASH over and above just water. It's bigger than that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I'm excited.
Yeah, particularly because even LB as a nation, we would love to achieve universal coverage on issues of sanitation and issues of access to water. So we have to rally behind our team, and we have to become advocates for them. So it's my commitment, but I'm now extending an invitation to you.
I'll join you.
Good.